Hello HEMA friends and welcome to this new video. So today I just received the Hellish Quart demo pre-launch key by the developers and I am actually testing it and damn, it's so much fun. Actually, as I said, this is only a demo of the game which is going to be released on October the 5th, so it contains only a limited part of the game. First of all, let's check what you will find in the demo. Now, first of all, the intro video, which is kind of funny, it is basically put into context who is who among the characters that you end up playing in the demo. You can choose between 3 characters by now. The first one is Jacek, which is described as some kind of bad guy in the video. Actually, he's by the way my favorite one by now. Barabbas and Gideon instead are 2 guys which want to kill Jacek to gain some money by collecting the bounty which pends over him. Now, Gideon looks like a drunkard, basically. He seems to be more the defensive kind of guy in his fencing style. He is slightly slower, it seems, but is also slightly more resistant to minor wounds, as far as I understood. Barabbas instead is skinny and fast. He also seems slightly more fragile as far as I understood, which makes sense because of course he's extremely skinny compared to the other fencers. Jacek is more balanced in some ways and basically he sits between the other fencing styles. He is more the balanced kind of guy which is not too aggressive and not too defensive. Before you start selecting one of them and starting bashing around, I will say to watch the 2 small tutorials about the game. The first one explains how you move, strike your attacks, grab the opponent, move the weapon online, etc. The second one instead explains tactics and the most important concepts behind fencing and this game too. Tempo, which means time, and distance management. Now, in fencing, everything is related to time and measure, and basically distance management. And in this game is the same, because it is greatly focused on recreating realistic, physics-based dueling fencing. Now, speaking about gameplay, the tutorial shows you the controls using a console controller. Now, if you are an old-style computer game nerd like me, you will probably end up using the keyboard instead. So don't worry, you may find all the key bindings of the keyboard in the options section. After you have watched the tutorials, you may start playing around with your 3 nasty boys, of course. By now, I can basically fight only against the AI, but you will most probably be able to fight against your friends. Anyway, the AI is divided in 3 subtypes: passive, maneuverable and aggressive. The passive opponent is kind of easy to deal with. Not every single time, but most of the times. The aggressive opponent is the hardest to deal with at the very beginning when you start to play the game. But in fact, my favorite AI is the maneuverable one, because it's far more balanced and it reacts in a smart way. So, let's talk about the fighting system. The whole fighting system of the game is well described by the developers in the video I am going to link in the video description. But anyway, the fighting is based on movements, forward, backward and sideways, and on 4 blows, 2 from above and 2 from below. Combining blows and movements change your attack pattern, basically. You have also other attack options, which are basically combos. By combining a series of cuts and movements, you end up throwing a fast series of cuts or different attacks, like thrusts, while moving forward or backward. You also have access to the grab option, which is useful to control the opponent at the close distance. When you reach stretto, the close distance, your character automatically switches attacks from cuts to punch, kicks and pommel strikes when you are close enough. By pressing the bar on your keyboard, you can also move your weapon in an extended guard position. This makes binding possible and also give access to trick attacks, like fast false edge cuts, for example. The parry in Hellish Quart happens automatically, and you will probably say, oh, but it's too easy. Well, not exactly. You can parry in a good way only if you are at the right distance. If you are too close, the opponent can breach through your parry. Or also, if he is too close, he can breach your guard by throwing a fast series of attacks. So, long story short, distance management is the key in Hellish Quart. So, what I think about this system by a realistic perspective. First of all, I like it. It's a good system. Tactically speaking, it is more complex than the one we may see in Mordor, for example, which I consider a really good fighting simulator. Of course, the gameplay and of course the objective of the games, these two different games, are completely different, but here I'm specifically talking about one-on-one tactical perspective in the fighting simulator systems. What we see here, which we don't see in other games, is the concept of the long guard and all the advantages and problems that comes by holding the weapon forward. The physics of the game is also extremely interesting. If your blow ends up being slightly short or the opponent almost parries it, you end up slashing the opponent for a minor damage, which is kind of cool and realistic. You can parry and riposte, which is realistic, attack on tempo, so attack and defend at the same time, which is realistic too. You can grab, kick, punch, stab, cut, pommel strike. You can control the opponent's weapon through the bind, and all this stuff is of course extremely realistic. That said, I can say that I consider Hellish Quart by now the most realistic fencing simulator I have tested so far. My advice for you is try the demo because, well, it's so much fun. I am looking forward to see the complete version of the game because I think it will be extremely interesting. Well people, we are at the end of this video. Remember, if you want to support my video production, you can do it by joining my Patreon community. You may find the link in the video description. Thanks for watching and, as always, see you next time.